Hey everyone, Coach Christina here. I have been way overdue to do a workout video where we really just stretch. So go ahead and find a spot on the floor. Go ahead and have a seat. And I want you to plant your feet on the floor and then go ahead and roll all the way back. So we're gonna start by grabbing our right knee. So go ahead and release your left. So we do this in my classes all the time. But I've actually never done a workout where we just focused on stretching. So bringing that right knee towards your right side at about 45 degrees, I want you to hold that stretch, keeping your left hip pressed against the mat. And we're gonna hold it here for about 15 seconds because this is gonna take us into a supine twist. So just holding it right here. If you need to press down on your opposite hip to make sure it doesn't come off the mat, then feel free to do that. I know I have to do that sometimes. So now, go ahead and grabbing that knee, draping it over to your left side. I want you to bring that knee all the way over. And then with your right arm, extending it to your right side. So if your hand can't touch the floor, that's totally okay. The idea is just to give your spine that nice twist. So this is a great stretch to do no matter where you are in your fitness journey. It's just good for your overall well-being. So good for the spine to be stretching this way. So we're going to hold it here for 30 seconds just to give your spine that relief that it needs. Make sure that you're breathing into this stretch. So important. 5 more seconds, and we'll switch to the other side. In 3, 2, and 1. Then go ahead and bring both knees back to center, giving yourself a little hug. And then we're gonna go ahead and release the right leg, grabbing your left knee, pulling it into your chest, and then draping it over 45 degrees, opening up the hip, keeping your right hip pressed against the mat. So this is what we call static stretching. So it's essentially where we bring the body back to its most neutral state. So go ahead and bring your left knee across your body over onto your right side, and then grabbing your left hand, go ahead and reach over to the left side, feeling a nice deep stretch in your spine on the opposite side. And then we're gonna hold it here for 30 seconds. So we're bringing our body back to its natural state by giving the joints their ability to have a full range of motion. It's regular range of motion. So by holding it for 30 seconds, it really allows the muscles to open up and return back to their range of motion. So when you work out a lot, or you're not even necessarily work out a lot, but if you do a lot of the same repetitive movements, then your muscles have a buildup of lactic acid. And 5 more seconds. And what happens is it really tightens the muscles up and it makes us more prone to injury. So go ahead and bring your knees back to center. Yeah, so basically increases because muscles on their own, if you want to think about, like I'm trying to think of like a good way to explain like the way muscles kind of are. Like, you know, like pillows, like pillows that are made of like weird material. It's like all bunched together, right? But it should be separate and kind of flowy, which is essentially what a muscle is. So when it gets super dense, it doesn't have that ability to really move around. Like the muscle spindles, as we say, within the body, don't have the freedom to move around a lot. So when you become rigid, you have a higher likelihood of injuring yourself. Like if you're a runner and your calves are super tight, instead of them being nice and loose and limber and you're able to run over large mountains and on trails, you don't have that flexibility anymore. So I hope that made sense. Long-winded answer while we're stretching here. Go ahead and roll up. And now we're gonna stretch out your hip flexors. So go ahead and meet me in a downward facing dog. So hands stacked directly underneath your shoulder blades, and then go ahead and bring yourself all the way back. So for a nice downward facing dog, you don't want your heels to be on the mat per se, but you do want to feel a nice stretch in your calves. So you can go ahead and bend your knees if you need to, or straighten them out if that feels good. I like to pedal my feet out because that's what makes me feel really good. But of course, everyone has their own poison, right? So we're going to start with the left side. So go ahead and inhale your left leg high, and then bringing your left leg forward so that your toes touch your right wrist. They don't have to touch, but they have to be in that area. So now you're going to go ahead and take a nice deep inhale. So you should feel a stretch in your right hip, kind of on this side. Hopefully you can see. You'll be able to see it on the other side when I do it. It might feel intense for some of you, especially if you don't stretch your hip flexors very often, but it's so good to be doing this. If you work out consistently, or even if you're not much of like an avid, exercise person. So now we're gonna go ahead and lean all the way forward. So come down onto your forearms if you can. If it tends to be really intense and you just can't move any further, then feel free to keep it here. Or if you can bring your forehead down to the floor, go ahead and bring it down. And we're gonna hold this here for 30 seconds. So give me another 10 seconds here, and we'll switch. The beauty of everyone being at home is that there's a lot more adventure happening in my backyard. Okay, in 3, 2, 1. Okay, other side. So this time I'm gonna flip over so you can see what it looks like on the other side. So go ahead and meet me in a downward facing dog one more time. And then go ahead and inhale your right leg high, and then bringing your right toes towards your left wrist. Same thing. And take a nice inhale, feeling that stretch in your right glute, as well as your left hip. And then when you're nicely positioned, we're gonna go ahead and slowly lean forward, coming down onto your forearms, and then forehead touches the floor, 30 seconds. Five more seconds. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and come out of sleeping pigeon. And then I want you to meet me all the way down onto your belly. We're gonna stretch out our back for a second. So go ahead and grabbing both of your arms from behind you, and go ahead and lift your chest slightly off the mat, feeling a nice stretch in your back from here. And then my feet, I'm just kind of like lightly letting my toes rest on the floor. It's important to stretch out the back muscles and keep them nice and limber, because when our back gets tight, then it ends up pulling onto our chest, and then we can develop pain in our chest and our shoulders, rotator cuffs. So it's important to always be not just stretching the back, but working the back as well. Give me 15. In 5, in 4, 3, 2, 1. Woo. Okay, hands come back onto the mat. Go ahead and push yourself up into a child's pose. Child's pose is probably one of my favorite things, especially right after a workout. It's just so relaxing. So for child's pose, go ahead and bring your 2 big toes to touch. You want to be sitting into your hips. So if you find your hips kind of coming off of the floor a little bit, it just means that you're tight and you just need to stretch your hips out. So do the sleeping pigeon stretch that we just did together. And then go ahead and reach forward towards the end of your mat, keeping your elbows peeled off the mat, and then bringing your forehead down. 10 more seconds here. In 3, 2, 1, and slowly start to walk yourself up. Go ahead and bring your feet together. Okay. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. That's the end of today's stretch. Make sure that you're always stretching before and after a workout. It's really important just to prevent an injury, especially right now we're all at home and we don't have very much access to massage therapists or anything like that. So keep yourselves healthy, stay well, and I'll see you guys later.